That is.
Let's not say anything.
All right.
Waiting for him.
I was waiting for the recording to start.
We are recording.
We go. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call to order this evening's July 19th board meeting to order. And welcome everybody back to our first face-to-face meeting in over 2.5 years. It's nice to see you.
It's three and a third at
Yeah.
least.
Holy moly. Too long. So welcome back, everybody. I'll begin by asking each commissioner to please respond with a "here" when I call your name. Commissioner Doan,
Here,
Commissioner Duggan,
here.
Commissioner Fisher,
Here.
and Commissioner Lysick.
Here.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to begin this evening by performing our oaths of office for those of us who were elected or re-elected this spring. And we will begin with Commissioner Doan.
That's you.
Come on.
Oh, we've got to go. Right? I didn't finish his. Yeah, you got it.
Notice the shirt. Makes me official.
It does. You ready, Commissioner Don?
That's how I've ever been.
Okay. Well, it's the same oath you've done many times. So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jim Doan,
I, Jim Dolan,
do hereby swear to faithfully discharge the duties
swear to discharge the duties
of the office of Commissioner
Office of Commissioner
of the Tualatin Valley Water District
Tualatin Valley Water
according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon,
according to the Constitution and the laws of the state,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability,
during the term of office to which I was elected.
during the term of office to which I was elected.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Commissioner Doan. Next, it'll be Commissioner Fisher.
Raise your right hand, sir. Repeat after me. I, Carl Fisher, do hereby swear
I, Carl Fisher, do hereby swear
to faithfully discharge the duties
to faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Commissioner of the Tualatin Valley Water District
of the Office of Commissioner of Tualatin Valley Water District
according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon,
according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
during the term of office to which I was elected.
during the term of office to which I was elected.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Lysick.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Elliot Lysick, do hereby swear to faithfully discharge
I, Elliot Lysick, do hereby faithfully swear to discharge
the duties of the office of Commissioner
the duties of the Office of Commissioner
of the Tualatin Valley Water District
of the Tualatin Valley Water District
according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon,
according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
during the term of office to which I was elected.
during the term of office to which I was elected.
All right, congrats. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Lysick.
So raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Todd Sanders, do hereby swear to faithfully discharge
I, Todd Sanders, do faithfully swear to discharge
the duties of the office of Commissioner
the duties of the Office of Commissioner
of the Tualatin Valley Water District
of the Tualatin Valley Water District,
according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon,
according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
during the term of office to which I was elected.
to the term of office to which I was elected.
All right, thank you. Congratulations. Okay, and I'd just like to ask that the commissioners stick around at the end of the meeting. I have a couple things for you to sign.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now that we've taken care of that issue, we're going to move on to reports from the Chief Executive Officer and management staff.
Right. Thank you, President Sanders and commissioners. Good evening. Welcome back. I hope you're liking the new layout. So as you get used to it tonight, if there's things you see improvement for, let us know. All right, we're going to jump into this. Come on. There we go. Okay, so we have some, you're going to hear more about this evening, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. But we do have some open house sessions coming up. The first one will be held on August 2nd at noon, and another one on the 17th, and those will be virtual forums that we'll be doing, and the presentations are going to be the same, but we're trying to create opportunities for people to hear what's driving the rates, what's behind the rate increases, what are we doing to try to control rate increases, why are they needed, and then obviously to hear from the public what concerns they may have about those. We are also doing an in-person open house, and that'll be done here on August 5th on Saturday at 9 a.m. So we certainly welcome commissioners to attend these. Love to know ahead of time so that we can introduce you, whether it's online or here virtually. All the speaking and presentation will be done from staff, myself, and the rest of the staff about what is behind the rates. But I think it's good for the board to be able to hear directly from our public. All right. So next week, we have Open International coming to visit. And they'll be on site along with Clean Water Services. And this is really our 1-year check-in after go live with our new CIS system. It's been just over a year since we've gone live with that. And we want to take a look at what have been the successes, what are some of the outstanding challenges that we have, and where can we make some improvements, and also what are some future opportunities that we may have with the software in terms of new functionality. So we're going to be holding those meetings. Those meetings actually are a direct result of the time from me going down and visiting their corporate offices and hearing from their staff. So this is really kind of bringing us all together to have a conversation about what are we doing well and where can we improve. All right, so I am recommending that we cancel the September 5th work session. I know that feels like a ways off, but it comes up way faster than we always recognize. And that is the week of Memorial or Labor Day weekend. So there's a lot of vacations and those kinds of things. And we just thought we don't have anything critical to bring you that particular work session. So as long as the board is okay with us doing that, we are suggesting to cancel that work session. Looks like we got a nod ahead. All right.
This looks like we're good.
All right. So unless there's any additional questions for myself, I'm going to turn this over to Dave Kraska. Dave.
All right, thanks, Tom. I'll see if I can work the keys over here. All right, first time at the podium. Good to see you in live format here, 3D and everything. So let's go ahead and get into the department report. And I pressed the right key the first time. All right, so my department report is going to be very brief tonight. We have a work session on August 1st that'll have a deep dive into everything for the Willamette Water Supply System, Willamette Water Supply Program. So this is just going to be a brief overview of everything that we have going on right now, or most of the things that we have going on right now. So first of all, is just kind of going down this list of activities that we have on the program. We're progressing through our procurements. The main one that we executed recently was the annual work plan for our program and construction management staff with Stantec. That was done actually back in June. We're continuing our operations planning workshops and also our water supply integration communications workshops. That water supply integration communications workshops, it's very important that all three agencies, TVW, Hillsborough, and Breveton, all are basically singing from the same sheet of music regarding water supply integration, our communication to our customers and what it means to them. So we're working very hard to basically get on the same page on that and making good progress there, but a lot of work still to come. Regarding project highlights, just a couple here to note here. Regarding our tunnel under Wilsonville Road for PLM 1.3, that was a recent significant achievement. So crossing Wilsonville Road, very busy road in Wilsonville, did that going trenchless, basically tunneling underneath that road. It was a very complicated effort, basically a lot of cobbles the size of Pete Boone here and bigger. And so it was very challenging work doing that. We also tunneled under a very important oak tree in Wilsonville, so all was completed successfully. Glad that no challenges there. A lot of challenges, but we executed through all of them. We also completed a couple of pipeline segments. So PLW 1.2, that's our pipeline segment in Cornelius Pass Road from TV Highway up to Francis. And also our MPE 1.1 project, that's our 48-inch pipeline in Western Boulevard over in the Beaverton area. As part of a Beaverton road project, we combined with them. So we completed our pressure testing and disinfection of both of those pipeline segments. We're continuing to coordinate all of our projects with our partners, agencies, and developers. And listed there are all 14 projects that we're currently in construction, most of them pipelines, but still the three facilities that we're working on. And progressing our planning, our commissioning and startup, our water supply integration, and our operations planning. So a couple of highlights. What are some of the other major priorities that we're working on right now? One of them is basically a look back in fiscal 23. So we just closed fiscal 23 at the end of June. And what we found is that we underspent by a significant amount. And so that was a bit surprising to us. We saw it coming, but usually toward the end of our fiscal year, spends ramp up. This time it didn't. And so right now what we're doing is a deep dive through all of our projects, trying to understand what of that is real. If any of it is real, is it concerning? And if it's concerning, what's our makeup plan to fix it so that we're still on track to finish on time? I'll go into more detail in this in the August 1 work session, but I'm happy to say that on all the pipeline projects, we're good and we're on track towards completion. On one of the facility projects, we've got some work to do. And I'm happy to report the team is on it and working towards a correction plan on that project. I'll report on that, the details of that. I'll be glad to answer any questions today, but I'll report the details of that on the August 1st work session. Regarding our operations planning, including governance and decision-making, we need to get our operations plan done basically within the next year or so. We need to bring that to the board for approval. And we need that basically well in advance of our operations so that we can use it for training of our new operations staff before we actually go into operations. So there's a lot of work that's underway right now on that. And regarding staffing planning, including potential transitions for the WWSP staff, that's tied into our operations planning. We need to basically define the operations planning, the organizational charts for that, so we know where the opportunities are for people to land once the program wraps up operations. I'll go through all of the construction projects, but this is basically the chart that I present at every work session, showing that we're making progress on all of them, and all of them are going along very well. And that's it for tonight. As I promised, a very brief presentation, but I'd be glad to take any questions.
Mr. Kraska.
Sir, Mr. President.
Do you think the cost underruns are majority incomplete projects, or are there some lower costs than expected?
There's both. Yeah, there are some costs that we anticipated that we didn't realize, so we didn't spend as much, and that's a good news.
Yeah.
So we have that to present. There are some projects that are going slower than anticipated, but for all the right reasons. It's just part of executing the work. And our plan curve didn't line up with the contractor's curve. We're rectifying that for the fiscal year that we're currently in. And then which projects are slower and why. And so we're also addressing that.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anything further? All right, thank you very much.
Holy
Well,
smokes.
a lot of practice.
Commissioner Communications.
Wonderful. Thank you. Our next item is Commissioner Communications and Reports of Meetings Attended. Commissioner Doan?
Yes, as soon as I get the right screen. I'll just start it out by saying I went to Dick Schmidt's, oh, sorry. This is not my best day. I went to Commissioner Schmidt's wake on Saturday, and it's very interesting to see pieces of his past that I had no idea, even though I'd spent many hours at his house. But anyway, that was nice. Let's see, there's this meeting, there was the work session, and then there was a meeting I had with Tom concerning rates and stuff like how bad can the Joint Water Commission screw things up. And but it turned out that on last Friday we approved the master plan, and it's okay. It'll get the job done. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Doan. Commissioner Duggan?
Well, I'm pleased to report that the last month has been relatively light compared to previous months in the year. On June 28th, there was a finance committee meeting where Commissioner Lysak and I attended and got policy updates from our financial staff. Last Tuesday, the 11th, we had our agenda planning meeting for tonight's meeting. On Wednesday, the 12th, I attended the Talking Water on water quality, and I need to say that staff did a fantastic job of covering both our current situation and anticipated new source, and explaining to the attendees the process that is going to be undertaken in order to switch over to that new source, and all the precautions that are being put in place, and all the pre-planning that will go into doing that. And there were some pretty pointed questions directed at staff, and I need to say that staff did a fantastic job handling those questions. And I think the YouTube video is a must watch for anybody that is watching this recording. Just anyone that is concerned about water quality, not only from the perspective of the new Willamette source, but also just in general and what they hear about what's happening in the city of Portland, and various other concerns with contaminants in the water supply. And then tonight's meeting. That's it. So again, kudos to staff for that Talking Water. Joel did a fantastic job.
Thank you, Commissioner Duggan. Commissioner Fisher?
I had a very brief month because of the 4th of July festivities. And I had a meeting with Representative Ben Bowman as one of his local electeds and constituents, where we talked about the impacts of the legislative session and how we might go about in the future getting some more funding. And then I attended the West Side Economic Alliance's legislative recap forum that was virtual that got the region's legislators to come talk about their perspectives on how the session went. And then I'm here at tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Lysick.
Light month for me as well, which I won't complain about with the nice weather. So the Finance Committee meeting that Commissioner Duggan mentioned on the 28th, the Joint Water Commission board meeting this past Friday on the 14th, and then tonight's meeting as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Lysick. And I'm noticing you all are recording your meetings via memory. I think one of the weaknesses we've just discovered is if we're turning in our sheets to Sam via PDF, via email, and then we come sit down here, we don't have that list of meetings in front of us anymore. So we'll have to find a solution to that.
Speak for yourself.
I noticed
Yeah, you get out my phone.
right? You're technologically more advanced than the rest of us. There's no doubt about it.
Even with only 4 meetings from memory, I had my cheat sheet.
So maybe that's something we can check into before the next meeting.
You have so many meetings. It's hard to memorize.
Yeah. And so with that, I don't have them memorized. I did talk to two of the board members this week, spoke to the folks at West Slope Water District. I'll talk about that in a minute. The planning meeting, met with Tom once or twice. And I guess that would be about it for me too, because I was away on holiday with my family. So I think that about wraps it up, but I'll have a date-related report in our August meeting to make up for the lack of specifics today. Topics to be raised by commissioners. Do we have any topics to be raised by commissioners at this time? I just wanted to bring up one thing just to keep everybody updated. I have made contact with the new board chair of West Slope Water District. We had directed CEO Hickman to talk to their general manager about a couple of items. I've since talked to their new board chair, Susan Moramber, and in our discussions, one of the things that was brought up was the possibility or asking our CEO and our CFO to take a look at hiring a third-party external finance, engineering person, company, consultant firm to take a look at the feasibility of all the things that we're discussing. And that Susan would be bringing the same thing to her board today, and then we will catch up either tomorrow or Friday. And that looking at if we could share the cost of doing something like that. So neither of us understood completely what the feasibility was, but both of us understood that our staff wasn't looking for something to do next week. We don't have anybody sitting around waiting for jobs to be handed to them. And also that there are I think some nuances from what I understand so far that could make this a more complicated discussion than maybe initially intended. So I'm kind of coming up to you right now, and I'll ask the board if they approve to see about the idea of hiring a third-party authority to help with the discussions.
So for us, I mean, this is something I think we were thinking of doing.
Good.
One of the things I did speak with their general manager, Mike Grimm, about this. He was inclined to hire their own independently, which isn't a bad idea if that's what they want to do. So just to make you aware, if it's going to be something that's shared between us, they just need to make sure they convey that to the general manager so that that's what he agrees to do. So, but yeah, we don't, I think I'm going to look at CFO here. Paul, would you agree that we could hire somebody to look at this?
We could. There's still a lot of work that we need to do regardless, but I think it's probably more important that they get some counsel as well, because we present information to them, but it tends to get complicated and it tends to be sort of finance oriented. And right now, let's just say in the past meetings, it's been a little more difficult to convey that in a way that's usable for them. So I think it'd be very helpful for them to have some consultant assistance. The challenge is that there aren't a lot of consultants out there right now that are available. And so it may take a long lead time just given the work that they have going on. So it may not speed things up necessarily, I guess is what I'm saying, but I think it'll make it more successful.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'll carry that back to Susan and let her know. But just to let all the fellow board members know that we continue to have discussions moving forward with the Westfield Water District Board on a number of topics that we've opened up discussion about. And if I understand right, my talking with Tom, we're looking at perhaps a September date when we have a board-to-board based meeting between Westfield and ourselves.
September or October is what we've been trying to shoot for. Mike and I are working on a final draft of an agenda that I want to bring to you all at the next either work session or board meeting, so that you can all agree, yes, this is the agenda. He's going to do the same with his. Any revisions we'll make and then set the date.
Any questions? No? All right. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Next item is our public comment. Public comment time is set aside for persons wishing to address the board on items on the consent agenda and matters not on the agenda. Additional public comment will be invited on agenda items as they are presented. Do we have any persons today who would like to comment? Okay, fantastic. We'll move on, turn the page, as Bob Seeger said. Then we'll enter item number 1, which is our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and may be enacted in one motion without separate discussion. Any board members may request that an item be removed by motion for discussion and separate action. Any items requested to be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion will be considered immediately after the board has approved those items which do not require discussion. This evening, we are to approve the June 21st, 2023 regular meeting minutes, to consider adopting resolution 09-23, a resolution repealing the COVID-related resolutions 08-20 and 09-21, and consider adopting resolution 1023, a resolution of the local contract review board repealing COVID-related resolution 07-20. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented?
This is Jim Doan, so moved.
This is Commissioner Duggan, second.
Great. All those in favor, can we please say aye?
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion passes. We'll move on to item number 2, which is our business agenda this evening. And we'll begin with resolution 11-23, which is approval of the district's 2023 to 2025 financial plan and a staff report from our Chief Financial Officer, Paul Matthews.
Thank you, President Sanders, and good evening, board members. It's great to be here in person, actually giving a presentation. I'm always a little fearful following Dave because he usually has those great pictures. Tonight, I'm glad that Dave, you didn't really stand, but I wore a tie just in case I had to impress otherwise. So 2 actions tonight. First will be the financial plan, and then we'll follow up with the rate process. So 2 separate resolutions, 2 actions, and tonight I'm going to talk about the financial plan. And I do apologize because all the information I'm presenting to you tonight, you've heard at least twice, probably 3 times. But we want to get it into the public record. It's important for us to do that. I'll give you a quick update on our financial performance because we have completed our fiscal year. We haven't closed it entirely. We'll still be making some adjustments over time, but we want to give you an idea of how we finished the year. And then we'll go through the financial plan itself that we'll ask for your approval of, talk about some of the key assumptions, the key results, and then our recommendation for approval. With that, this all goes back to the district's financial management strategy, which we see that as a continuum. You'll remember back in February, March, we brought to you the process to help us develop financial strategies. And you gave us that direction of financial strategy. We used that to finalize our bond issue. We used that to provide direction to management, to prepare their requested budgets. And we went through that entire process. And then we actually developed the budget, which is that 2-year spending plan that we use to set appropriations and manage the district. That has a large public oversight by setting those spending limits, and that's the budget process. Before we turn to rates, though, we want to formalize the financial plan. We're doing things somewhat out of sequence. Normally, we would be presenting this financial plan to you in May, but this year in May, we were doing a bond issue. So we scheduled to bring this to you in July. And then tonight, I'll talk further about the rate process, and then we shift into delivery. That falls on the rest of the team, Pete's group, as well as Andrew's and everybody else, to provide that customer service that our customers need. So quick update on our financial performance. As I said, this is preliminary. As we continue to receive invoices from our vendors, we will be closing these up. But the good news is we're coming in our operating budget about $14 million of underspend. That's an important thing. We factor that into our financial strategy and our financial plan that we will pick up a little boost here by managing those operating expenses very carefully. So we are going to end the year, I'd say around 14 million, depending on what invoices come through in the coming weeks. Water delivery has been interesting. So what you see presented here, the dashed line is a historical average, kind of a 5-year rolling average. And it shows by month the actual average demands that we have delivery. And in the dark blue line is what we saw in this biennium. And so you can see that we had early on, do we have a laser pointer here? Probably not going to be this right color.
Right, but
All right,
you can give it a shot.
I'll use my fingers. As you can see, we had a little bit of a slow start here where we were behind in that summer, but we picked it up in the fall. And we were having a pretty good start here. So where did we end up in the end? On the revenue side, we're about $4.4 million ahead of the game on water sales revenue. Now, part of that was we changed the rate increase from a 9.5% increase to the rate increase that actually we put forward, that 14% rate increase last fall. That helped. And in fact, if you do apples to apples comparisons, we're actually even ahead of that a little bit. So we're about $4.4 million of revenue beyond what we had initially budgeted. So $14 million under on our operating expenses and about $4.4 million ahead on the revenue side. And then on our system development charges, these are those one-time capital charges when new customers connect. We're about $50,000 under, which is, as near as I can tell, statistically insignificant. I can't see on this graph that $50,000. That's luck. System development charges, we've even balanced throughout time. We just happened to hit the end when things were kind of in a converging mode. We had a really strong month in June, and so we're within $50,000. So bottom line is, from a financial performance side, we're doing really well. Expenses are being managed, revenues are up, and we're in good shape. Now I want to turn to something that's a little bit more of a concern, which is our collections and our account receivables. And you see this, I think, on a regular basis in the month in review. We're getting better information out of our out of our new customer information system. But we are seeing, after COVID and the suspension of shutoffs, we saw an increase in our account receivable aging. The other thing that we've seen to go along with that is after the go live with our new CIS, we suspended shutoffs again, which is a best practice during that period of time during the go live and stabilization phase. And so we're obviously wanting to work on these collections and get them under control. And our average age, you can see here again, these are graphs that you typically see in the monthly review, reflect that. We did take action in the budget. We've set aside more money for allowance for doubtful accounts by having greater bad debt expense that we requested that the budget committee approved and the board adopted. So I'm not raising this as a concern per se. I'm just saying this is an opportunity for us to manage this, bring that down, and improve the district's financial performance. So our final thoughts on this: operating expenses are well under budget. That's what we want. The trends in revenues seem to have stabilized. That rate increase helped, and we're a little bit ahead there. Unusual water demands, but we seem to be on the right track. The November 2022 rate adjustment did help offset those earlier water sales that were behind. Inflation continues to be a risk for the district. Inflation is stabilizing, but that's inflation overall. When we look at particular sectors, especially on some of the trades and some of the other important things to the district, power, purchased water, these costs are certainly present a continuing risk to the district. But bottom line is 21-23 was successful in delivering to the district the financial resources that we need to continue our investment in the Willamette water supply system, which is, of course, our number one financial priority, is to make sure that that's adequately funded. So from financial performance, we're feeling pretty good about that. I'm going to transition now and talk about why we want to do a financial plan. It seems like a lot of work. Why would we do that? It's important. It has several purposes. First, it helps us ensure that we have a strategic focus in everything that we do. The financial plan is part of our strategic planning framework, and it's an important aspect of that. And it provides accountability. So we lay out our plan, and we can measure how we're doing against the plan. And it provides our stakeholder needed information. I'll talk about the audience, but some of our stakeholders include our partners. I queried oftentimes, do we have the financial capacity to complete our commitments within the Willamette water supply system? The answer is yes, and the proof lies in the financial plan. And it demonstrates the board's commitment to sound financial management, which is extremely important to when we have conversations with, talk about the audience here in a bit for the financial plan. It's really imperative that we can see our board has actually approved this financial plan. They've endorsed it. They understand it. They've been briefed on it in a public setting. So who are the audience? Well, internal stakeholders, we all need to know what our plan is so we can focus on that. The finance community, we want the finance community to recognize TPW's creditworthiness because right now we have a huge demand to borrow money to complete the water supply program. So that includes folks like the rating agencies that regularly look at our financial plan, take information out of that. Now they have to run through their own models, but that information that we present to them is extremely helpful. And it most importantly demonstrates that we have a plan, we're sticking to the plan, and that the board has approved and endorsed that plan. And we send a copy to the WIFIA program team of, hey, that's a requirement of our WIFIA loan, but the other reason is if we want to continue to access the WIFIA, we want to make sure that we're providing the information the WIFIA program team needs to assess our creditworthiness. So board approval. First, in our financial management policies, which were approved by the board, it actually requires that the financial plan be adopted at least every 2 years. So we want to comply with our own policies. Board approval demonstrates that strong financial oversight that I was talking about. It sends an unambiguous message that this is an important thing for the board and that you are, in fact, providing that oversight. There was a lot of discussion several years ago. Should the financial plan be approved, should be accepted, should be adopted? All those three things had different meanings to folks that were on the board at the time. And the recommendation we had at the time was approval. That's because it's not adopted. This is the financial plan that provides guidance to the management team rather than set any firm policies. So we're asking for approval of the financial plan. And it's important to know that the financial plan is a separate process from the rate process. I'll be doing a separate presentation here a bit about the rate process. They're connected together, go hand in hand, one feeds the other, but they are two separate processes. So what are we talking about? Here's our forecast of our outlays, operating expenses, as well as capital expenses all the way through. If you look at the totals in 24, 25, and you see those very large totals, 455 million, 275 million. Those are largely driven by the capital outlays. And as we know, Dave's team is completing the Willamette water supply system. At that point, our capital outlays will drop, our budget will drop. The idea is that money that we have coming in now that we're using to pay for capital assets combined with the debt, the money that we're borrowing, once we hit that 2026, 27, 28, we finalize that. That money will then shift over and pay the debt service on that, and we'll be just moving forward in a coordinated manner. So looking at the same information graphically, if I can advance the slide, the light blue areas that you see there, that's the capital outlay. That is really, again, what is driving our plan. This isn't surprising. We've been watching this come at us for several years. You saw it as we talked about the financial strategies. You saw it as we talked about the budget. This is the peak period where we're delivering a lot of that investment into the water supply system. Here's our capital expenditure plan in a cumulative format that shows the dark areas are in-district CIP. That includes our investment in Metzger Pipeline East, which is being delivered by the Willamette Water Supply Program on behalf of the district. Well, that's in the dark area. The blue area there is the Willamette Water Supply System investment. And you can see a little green line if you can focus that clearly, if your optical correctors will allow it. That is our investment. Some of the other joint ventures, the Joint Water Commission investment. The bars, the check bar going up on the left, that's use of our existing WIFI loan. And we will take that down in its entirety, and we're taking that as quickly as we can. The WIFI loan has an interest rate of 1.35%. It reimburses us for the cash we've already spent, so we can immediately turn that money around and invest it at over 5%. And we're doing that. So that's our prerogative. Our priority is to take as much WIFI loan down as soon as possible. We also, as I mentioned, on the 31st of May, we completed our last revenue bond issuance. We were able to reimburse ourselves for about $55 million of that $82 million. So we're in real good shape there. The white bar that you see there is planned future revenue bond. We will need some additional money. It may be a traditional revenue bond. It may come as a WIFI loan. We'll let interest rates and other factors dictate which direction we turn. Depending on market conditions. So in a nutshell, that's our plan to finance and fund the capital improvements. The next slide here, I'm not going to go through all these details, but our financial management policies include an appendix that lays out our financial assumptions. And the financial management policy calls upon the CFO to publish in that appendix the key assumptions from the most recently approved financial plan. So these are the key assumptions that will end up in the appendix to our financial management policies. And again, that's very handy when we're queried by rating agencies and so forth, what our plan is. We can roll this out and it provides good proof. As we move forward and plan for the water supply system coming on board, we're actually transitioning water. And so we're estimating the cost of water. It's an important part of this. And we'll be transitioning off the Portland system, which is that purple bar, onto using our Joint Water Commission and our Willamette source into the future. And that's baked into the plan as well. So impacts on customers. We present these impacts on a monthly basis. Even though most of our residential customers are billed bi-monthly, this is the impact on a single family residential customer. The typical bill, which is using our most common meter size, which is 5/8 inch meter, taking 700 cubic feet of water in a monthly period. And you can see the rate increases that we're going to be looking at in this rate process. And this year and next year are pretty high. And I'll talk more about that in a bit, but we're talking about, well, you'll see it here in the next presentation, but about $15.50 increase per month this year. And then next year, another about $15 increase. But then we drop down and we hit more of an inflationary environment as we complete this major capital investment. We transition from investing in that to retiring our debt. These are the rate increases that I was talking about. These should not be a surprise. These are the same increases that we presented to you in the financial strategy. Typical bills as well. So where do we land? We've been talking about how we compare to other communities. And I think for the past half a dozen or dozen years, I've been saying that we're going to be moving up the league charts, and we are. And we will have one of the higher typical bills in the region. A couple of things to say about that. First of all, our neighbors are seeing similar increases. So we will see increases in bills for, as an example, West Slope here, as the Portland treatment plant hits the rate base and starts to be included in their rates. The city of Portland Frankly, we're all kind of in the same place. I would anticipate that Tigard, who made some early investments, is going to continue to drop. Similarly, in a few years, TBWD will start to drop down as other people leapfrog ahead of us. But it's important to know that this is a generational investment. We are going to see our costs go up and that it will recover as we complete these capital projects and move on into a more of a caretaker situation. One of the things that we want to make sure we don't do is end up where we made such an investment that we don't have adequate resources to continue to improve our infrastructure, because there will still be a lot of capital that we've deferred, we've delayed replacing capital as we focused on the limit. And what this chart presents is the resources that we will have, the fund balances that we will have to fund those capital improvements. So the good news is after 2027, 2028, the district won't be in such a financial condition that we will be unable to continue to make those necessary improvements in our system, notwithstanding the fact that we expect those costs to be lower. So our next steps, first, I will update, depending on your approval here tonight, Appendix A to financial management policies. For some reason, that's important to me. I'll get that done if you approve this. We will talk further about the rate setting process here. We'll conduct one, and we'll continue to secure future borrowing. So with that, answer any questions and then come back with a recommendation.
This is Commissioner Lysak. Thank you very much for putting this together. I appreciate. I might be the only one that loves that appendix. They will enjoy digging into it. It's the slide that I focused on when I was reviewing the materials. As a comment, I would also recommend highlighting our affordability efforts and talking about the comparison of the typical bill in that context as well, because that's an acknowledgement of our decision as a board and a district to say we can recognize that our rates are high and it adversely impacts a subset of our customers, and we're taking action toward that in a way that a lot of other districts might not necessarily be doing. And I know that that's more work. It doesn't need to be a part of the 23-25 plan, but definitely something just to factor in anytime we're having public facing communications about bill comparisons.
That's an excellent suggestion. Thank you for that. There are no other questions, and staff recommends the board adopt resolution 11-23 approving the district's 2023-2025 financial plan.
Thank you, Paul. Do I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 11-23, a resolution approving the district's financial plan for the 2023-2025 biennium?
Commissioner Lysak, so moved.
Commissioner Fisher, I second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Hearing any, the motion passes. Fantastic. Paul, come on back on up, sir, and we'll address a resolution 1223, which is the TBWD rate setting process.
Good evening again, President Sanders, Commissioners. So yes, the next step of the process is in fact the rate process. So I'll talk briefly about the proposed resolution, and I'll go through our public outreach plan and our next steps. So the purpose of the resolution is to provide staff some specific guidance. It establishes August 16th as the date for the public hearing. That's important because under Oregon law as a special district, we're required to mail notice to our customers, and we need to have, we'd like to have the support of the board before we start sending out postcards saying we're going to have a public hearing. That's your prerogative. Direct staff to conduct the virtual open houses and the in-person open house that Tom talked about earlier. And it sets a public comment period to close on August 24th, 2023 at 4 p.m. So that's what the resolution does. Presented here, we have a postcard, a mock-up of the postcard. I would say it's a proof of the postcard. And if approved tonight, this will be what we send to our customers. This is the side that would have the address on it, some information. And on the other side is some of the specific information announcing the public, the open houses and how people can participate. Now, we're required to give the date, time, and place of the public hearing, but we use this postcard to convey more information about that. Ideally, we'd like customers to come to the open houses where we have an opportunity to address their questions and provide information that they need, as opposed to having them come to a very formal board meeting where they get to give 3 or 5 minute discussion, but we really can't interact with them. In the past, the open house have been very effective, and that's what we're hoping to do here again, is to get the customers in the open house. So the public process we're talking about here includes those open houses. Specifically, the virtual open house would be Wednesday, August the 2nd. That one would start at noon. They typically go for an hour and 90 minutes, but we'll stay until all the questions are answered. For our customers, of course, we'll receive public comment. We also want to have one on the weekend. That will be an in-person open house here on August the 5th. It'll start at 9 a.m. and that will be here in this boardroom. We are hoping that the weekend will give people an opportunity to come down and discuss these matters and get the information. Prior to the pandemic, that was a great opportunity for us to interact with customers. We really enjoyed it. The 16th will be your regular meeting. That will actually be the public hearing. So that's what the postcard says. On 16th, we'll have a public hearing here at the district's office. And then we want to have one additional open house after the public hearing, just for those folks that either didn't have a chance to participate either on the weekend or at noon during the day, or people who become aware of it as a result of the public hearing. So we'll have another virtual open house at 6 p.m. and all these will be following the talking water format that we've had. The public comment period will close on the 24th at 4 p.m. That will allow us time to consolidate those public comments, get them into a file that we can then deliver to you for your consideration. And then the board meeting on September 20th is where you would then be able to take action on the proposed rates. So our next steps, pending approval here, we will begin mailing postcards to customers. We'll conduct the 3 open houses. We'll schedule a public hearing for the board regular meeting. We'll assemble the comments at 4 p.m., deliver them to you, and we'll schedule items for the board's final action on the 20th. Now, there's one other thing I want to mention as we go through this. We also looked and we talked to the finance committee about our leak adjustment policy. And so that's related to rates and our rate process, but it's somewhat different. So traditionally, our leak adjustment policy was oriented to providing relief to customers who had found a leak in their system, took the action to mitigate the problem with the leak by repairing it. And historically, we set that leak adjustment at 50% of the cost of water that was over their traditional usage. Back in when that policy was adopted, that covered essentially our cost, our out-of-pocket cost for water from our wholesale providers. But because of our increase in rates to fund our investment in the water supply system, that is no longer in alignment. So in addition to this process, I'll maybe kick this to Tom to talk more. We're planning or asking to have at the August 1st work session, actually have a special meeting to consider the leak adjustment policy. Tom, should I be kicking this to you now?
So I think we met with the finance committee to discuss this about making some modifications. Essentially, the way it was working before, it was becoming incredibly punitive to the point that we were actually making money off of leak adjustments, and we had situations where people their situation, they actually had no knowledge of the leak. And so it really wasn't a fair thing. So this was to bring this in line so that we're recovering the actual cost of delivering that water to them. So we're recovering our costs of what it cost us to deliver that water to them. So that's the leak adjustment that we're going to be discussing with you come August 1st.
The reason that we'll be having a special meeting on August 1st is the leak adjustment policy is incorporated in the district's rules and regulations, which the board adopted by ordinance. So we want to have an opportunity for the board to change the leak adjustment policy by adopting a complementary ordinance that would align with what Tom just said. So to do that, we typically want to have 2 readings that are at least 7 days apart. This is Mr. Balfour's expertise, not mine. And this special meeting, if it's advertised appropriately, would allow us to do that. Is there anything else, Clark, I should be saying here if I've already made a mess?
No, it'll be a very surgical change to the ordinance. We have to have the 2 readings and opportunities for comment. So the August 1st work session tails really nicely with our August 16th regular meeting, so we can take care of it there. But we will call the August 1st meeting a special meeting. So it'll be simple, I guarantee it.
Real quickly before, I know we'll probably get this answered on August 1st, but does this mean every time the cost of water changes that we will also be changing the cost to for leak adjustment? Just track with each other?
Go ahead, Paul.
So what we're proposing, President Sanders, is to have the leak adjustment policy be based on a formula that would automatically update based on our cost of water, so that it wouldn't be something that we would necessarily need to take action to align. We just simply keep it in alignment each year based on our cost of water, power, and chemicals, which are the things that are really driven by the leak. So it would keep our other customers whole, but it wouldn't be punitive to the customers that had the unfortunate leak.
Thank you.
Jim Dodd. I'm a little concerned that a homeowner would ignore the leak, knowing that he'll be made whole by this policy. And I object to that.
So we'll fashion it in a way. There are requirements that a homeowner must abide by in order to qualify for the leak adjustment. So if they take no action, if they don't get their leak repaired in a timely manner, they would not be able to benefit from the leak adjustment policy. Because just as you said, Commissioner Doan, we know that board's strong desire to encourage conservation, not to allow our resources to be wasted.
See, the problem, Paul, is I don't see that anywhere.
Oh,
I don't see that in any of the slides that we've seen.
I apologize. I've sort of brought this into the discussion. I actually have no slides on the leak adjustment policy. I just wanted to make you aware that we are planning to have that special meeting on August 1st. And we will provide information, including a staff report and details, so that you can have that information in hand before you're asked to take action.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
This is Commissioner Duggan. I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I want to assure Commissioner Doan, the Finance Committee did get a preview of what staff is looking at and the challenges that they have experienced over the last couple of years with their current leak adjustment policy. And I'm confident that their proposal will address the concerns that you have, but also address the real conundrums that staff was placed in on certain examples of situations they've had encountered over the last couple of years.
Don't see your lips and then flip back to here. It's not that I'm ignoring you.
No,
I'm
worries.
trying to understand. Okay, I get it. So the Finance Committee has been privy to this stuff.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
And the board will, the full board will see everything in writing in the packet that we get for the work session and special meeting on August 1st. So I know staff is already aware of your concerns, Jim, and they've already taken that into consideration. It's trying to strike the balance between what's fair and encouraging homeowners to take care of their side of the water system behind the meter.
I don't think people who try to cheat the system are savvy enough to put this whole thing together. So I think it will work. I just, you know, I just look for things that are gonna bite.
Yeah.
And if you guys are concerned, satisfied with it, I didn't understand that when we just started this. So I'm okay. I'm not on the budget committee. And if I need a handout of a couple $20 bills, I'll come to you.
Well, I think the examples that staff have are going to demonstrate that they were put into a difficult situation with a couple of these leaks that were called into question, and the fact that our current leak adjustment policy really doesn't consider all the possibilities of what may happen when water ends up.
Just consider most of them, not all.
Well, no, this one will cover, well, hopefully will make things a little bit easier in the future.
Happy.
All right. Any further questions? That concludes my presentation, President Sanders.
Thank you, Paul. And so at this point, we'd like to ask, can I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 12-23, a resolution establishing a process for proposed adjustments to water rates for the 2023-2025 biennium?
This is Commissioner Duggan, so moved.
Commissioner Lysick, I second.
All those in favor, just say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Not hearing any, the motion passes. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to the next item, which is resolution 13-23, a temporary water supply IGA between TVWD and the city of Beaverton. And this will be presented by the department manager, Clark Bell.
Thank you. I'm going to look here because I find myself completely mesmerized by the captioning. I mean, it's fun, right? It looks great, but I'm just going to watch myself talk. So I'm going to look here, and I have no slides.
Sometimes they're incredibly humorous.
So if you're telling any story, it's who, what, where, when, why. I'm going to tell you the what part. If you have any questions about the others, Mr. Boone here is available to answer all those questions. So what we have is a temporary emergency water supply agreement between us and the city of Beaverton. There's a construction project that the county is doing near 147th and Division. It's near the 36-inch line, which is really the south transmission line that comes from the JWC, and that's the primary feed for Beaverton water. So the county has made provision in their construction contracts that there is safety and securing of the water line during construction. But in case something happens, they wanted being proactive, and they wanted some kind of emergency supply. They've had conversations with Pete and Pete's staff. It appears that we could maybe provide up to 5 million gallons a day through various interconnections that we have with the Beaverton system in that area. I don't think we can provide all their needs, but we could help them out. It's a 6-month deal. The charging for it, the rates and that sort of thing, the wheeling methodology is all based on our other agreements that we already have with Beaverton. So it's really just an extension of some of those other things in a very limited sense for a construction project. Pete, do you have anything you want to add?
No, other than you missed some great captions. And, yeah, I caught the one that, yeah.
Yes, and I just want to say, Intel and Beaverton are getting really special water from the JWC line. It's said on there, beers and water. Yeah.
So I'm going to start watching the captions then, so I can be entertained too.
Oh, we should go to the Joint Water Commission. There were some great ones.
So if there are questions or comments, and jokes are welcome too. Otherwise, I think we're ready to approve by resolution that you have before you.
questions? Just to make sure before we ask for a motion, this is resolution 1323, not 1423. Is that correct?
I believe so.
I'm relying on the keeper of all resolution numbers.
Back there. I have on the second page, this is resolution 1323, then on the third page to approve resolution 1423. So
Commissioner 13 is the rate process.
It is 14. No. No, it's 13.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 1323, a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between the Tualatin Valley Water District and the city of Beaverton for short-term emergency water use?
Commissioner Fisher, so moved.
This is Jim Downs, second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Not hearing any, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item is board officer and committee appointments, and we'll hand that off to Tom.
Thank you. So we've had some discussions in preparation for this, and it is my understanding that we have one position that would like to modify. And so I believe President Sanders, you may have had some discussions about who may be interested or volunteered for this role. So it's the one spot we need to figure out what we want to do there.
Right now, and so moving forward into the next year, I will maintain the position as board president. And then we will have a new vice president this year who, with the intent of ascending to the president position next year. And since Commissioner Doan and Commissioner Duggan have both expressed no interest in moving to that position, we have asked that Commissioner Fisher and Lysick have a discussion about who would be interested. And at this point, who have we decided on going to be our vice president for the coming 2023-2024 year? And I take that, okay, fantastic. We're very enthusiastic. We will
Fireworks.
we'll have Commissioner Fisher will be our vice president for the upcoming 2023-2024 year, with the expectation that he will then take the role as president the following year. So it'll be your consigliere. No, that would be right.
It's the power position.
All right. I think that, I don't think we have any other outstanding positions that need to be addressed. Is that correct?
No other outstanding positions that we need to fill.
And I noticed the German slide came up quite quickly after.
Checking this.
Am I allowed to be treasurer and vice president at the same time?
Okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's an opportunity for someone else as well, so.
Would you like to be treasurer, Commissioner Lysick?
That would be fine.
Fantastic. Then the role of treasurer will fall to Commissioner Lysick. You have to protect that special treasure chest. Excellent. All right. I think we have all positions taken care of at this time, which will allow us to go to our last slide, which is adjournment. And we will adjourn our meeting for today. Just a reminder for everybody that we will be logging out of this meeting, and to attend executive session, you'll have to sign into the other Teams meeting link that you have.
And for the record, we'll be meeting under ORS 192.6602E to conduct deliberations to negotiate real property transactions.
Thank you, Sam. All right, see you in the other room.